Attending a star party and other observations on episode 353 of the Actual Astronomy Podcast. I'm Chris, and joining me is Shane. We're amateur astronomers who love looking up at the night sky. And this podcast is for everyone who enjoys going out under the stars. So we have a few people who like going out under the stars, but who are also Patreon supporters to thank. Shane?
Yes. Thank you to our latest Patreon supporters, Levi, Gary, and Robert. And as always, thank you to all of our Patreon supporters for helping keep the show going. We really appreciate it.
Excellent. Yeah, thanks so much, folks. We do really appreciate it. It helps keep the lights off.
There we go. Yes.
Yeah, bit of an astronomy joke there. Sorry. All right. So what have you been up to astronomy-wise, Shane? This is a bit of a catch-up. We haven't spoken in 20 days.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So fill me in.
Yeah, not a lot. Still continuing on with a lot of solar observing with pretty much all H alpha. I haven't dragged out the white filter probably in a little while now. And just really, really enjoying that as always. There's so much detail to see. I've been playing a little bit with that Zeiss Abbey Ortho that I got, that 16 millimeter.
Mm-hmm.
That 16 to like 18, maybe even 20 millimeter just seems like the sweet spot for my little H alpha telescope, which is it's the Coronado Solar Max 40 millimeter double stacked. And these are the H alpha filters when Coronado was an independent company and not owned by Meade. And I have it. Do you remember the 50 millimeter Borg FL that I have?
Oh, yeah. The 71?
No, the 50. The 50.
Oh, the F10. Sorry, yes, the F10.
Yeah. So the dew shield, just coincidentally, has got threads on the end of it that match the threads to this H alpha filter.
That's
so
nuts.
I screw these, like the Coronado double stacked filters on the front. I put the blocking filter diagonal in, the focuser, and away I go. And just really finding that 16 millimeter to be just about perfect. Really, really gives some nice views.
Awesome.
Yeah. What have you been up to?
All kinds of stuff. Not much astronomy, but lots of in the same orbit as astronomy. So okay. I finished the observer's calendar for the year.
Oh, nice.
Yes, it's very nice to be done. We're almost done. We're just going through the drafts now where the graphic designer, Michael, he's going through and making some small corrections and slowly adding some of the stuff in that I fixed back in the past few weeks. And then he just sent me a draft just before we were recording. So, but no amber ale type drafts yet, but there will be one head once this goes to press in early September here. That is for certain.
Yeah. A lot of work goes into that, I imagine.
Yes, I'm over 500 hours in.
500?
Yes,
wow,
500 hours. Because I'm a very particular kind of observer, and I think that a lot of people out there are like me. And when they open up an observer's calendar, they want it to tell them what they can see tonight for the area in which the calendar is giving you the details, like North America, for example. Mm-hmm. So I sort of painstakingly go through and edit out all the events that cannot be seen from North America, unlike other publications. Other publications just give it to you in UTC, but as far as I know, I'm the only one that goes through and bothers doing that, and it just takes a lot of time. But when you get the observer's calendar from the RESC and you open it up and you see an event, that is something that you can see. If you're in North America, you can see that event.
Okay. Cool.
And I just like that. Like I was saying briefly before we recorded, I do this for a couple of reasons. One, it's just the way that I think things should be done. I'm just particular that way, maybe a little bit OCD. And also it makes it easier for doing the podcast, because what I can do and what for our next episode, it only takes me like 15 or 20 minutes now to make up one of our objects to observe, or I think as we may change the title to a calendar of event for that particular month of stuff you can observe, because I can just pull that data out. And I know that stuff that you can see in North America for that period of time for that month. So I just like that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it sounds like a good approach, that's for sure.
Yeah. The other thing is the images. They took a lot of time, and I'm going to see if I can get a volunteer next year to help with the images a little bit more, because I'm not an imager, and I found that to be it took a lot of time, and I don't really speak the language, and so I think that there's a bit of lost in translation from my side of things, because I'm just not an imager, so I need to get a little help there, and I'm going to see if I can get someone else to help crunch some of the numbers now that I kind of know how that stuff works, because I think I'm probably putting in too much time for what it is, because I get a stipend, but I'm just really a volunteer that does this, and then I get some of my costs covered. Like, I'm burning through a computer every 3 years doing this, because it's very intensive. Like, I need to dedicate a computer for it. So, they help cover that. But yeah. So there was that, and then I had a free evening. So surprisingly, I didn't think I was going to do one, but I wrote an article for the Observer's Handbook from the RESC for 2024 on the constellation of Orion, and send it off to Randall with a bunch of my sketches for him to create his artwork for that constellation. So I'm excited to see what he drums up.
Yeah, you've been working on that for a little while, like in terms of the observations and stuff. Am I mistaken, or am I right?
No, you're right. I spent a lot of time doing observations. They're not really reflected in the article so much. Okay. I did do some observations of like Barnard's Loop, and 3 of the things that I did were the Barnard's Loop. I did the IC 2118, which is the Witch's Head Nebula, and then the Lambda Orionis region, and the nebula there, SH2-164 or something like that. The Angelfish Nebulae, part of the Lambda ring in the Orion molecular cloud complex. And then I also did some observations of the B cloud, and included that in my article. Yeah, I wish I could have done more. It just didn't quite pan out. I've made a lot of observations, it seems, a lot of observations and sketches that I've been going through. I think I have like 8 or 10 sketches of the California Nebula, and I didn't think I have done many of the North American Nebula as well, but I seem to have 6 or 7 sketches of the North American Nebula. I think I was sketching it so late at night, I forgot.
Oh, jeez.
Because I kept thinking, I gotta sketch that. And then this year I was like, oh, we've had all this smoke. I don't know if I'm gonna get a chance to sketch it. And I was going through all my notes, and I was like, yeah, I've got quite a few sketches of that already, it seems.
Oh, well, that worked out good then.
Yeah, so we'll see. We'll see if that gets depressed, though. I don't know, because we were pretty late. Just everything going on with the observer's calendar taking up so much time, and then the observatory as well has taken up lots of time. But the windows are in the observatory. I'm pretty excited about that.
Well, that's a big advancement. So is it all sealed up now?
No, okay. It's got at least, I would say, a month of day here and day there kind of work by my builder. He's got real jobs that he has to get to now, so he's just giving me a morning or an afternoon. Like if they run out of supplies on one job, they'll come up here and work for a couple hours, kind of things. So I asked him this evening, I dropped by his place because he just lives down the road from me here, and see if he would drop up one of these afternoons in the next couple days. I might see him, I might not, but he's pretty busy these days, just to figure out what our end game plan is. See, when you're, this is one thing I didn't quite factor in, is when you're, or not me, but when he's cutting holes and putting like some of the finishing touches on, it's still generating like a lot of sawdust, like really fine dust. And because of that, I'm reluctant to put the mount in yet. Like I could put the mount in, but I'm reluctant to, because it's very, very fine dust, and there's no way you could really seal it that well against that level of dust. It's a lot of dust.
Oh yeah, I would not put any gear in until well after construction is done, and you can take some compressed air or something in there to clean it up, or a vacuum. I'm not sure what would be best, but
yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's more dusty than I anticipated.
Yeah.
I could go on about that. I'm going to leave it. It's just part of the construction process. I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'll just do another coat of paint over everything and just paint that dust right into the building. I don't know.
I
This
guess
is
that's an option too. Yeah.
this is load bearing dust now.
Yeah.
Let's see. Yeah, so I've got most of the painting done. Just going to do the gable ends, and I don't know. I got to find a little bit of masonry white paint to do the cement blocks, and I got to paint a couple things on the pier, and that's it. I may put some epoxy down on the floor. Not epoxy, it's enamel paint. Like it's some weird new enamel paint they have. Might put that down on the floor just to give it a hard coat. Then putting some of that foam flooring down.
Yep.
Gotta put that down. So when you drop your eyepieces, because I don't drop eyepieces, but when you're in there and you have your eyepieces, Shane, you're gonna drop them, and then I don't want you to break them. So yeah,
Appreciate you thinking about me.
of course, of course. But the big thing I did is I went to the Saskatchewan Summer Star Party, or the Triple SP, or as my wife calls it,
Yep.
and
That's all accurate.
yeah, and I had a great time. It was really a lot of fun. I went to the talks. I got there on Friday, like around 3:30 or 4, and yeah, just hung out for a little while, and then checked in, and then went up and talked to everybody on the observing field, and yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was really really cool to see a lot of people that I hadn't seen in a while, and yeah, it was just a blast just seeing people, and the conditions weren't amazing. People are just, oh, what are the conditions like? But there were we had not the best conditions. I guess they were better earlier in the week, but on the nights I was there, it only kind of cleared up for I did a binocular star tour / maybe a bit of a comedy routine. And
Ooh, wow.
yeah.
Can't believe I
Yeah.
missed this.
Yeah, it was actually so yeah, I kind of prepared for it because it was kind of looking it was looking very much like it probably looks at your window there now, Shane, although you're in the basement, I think. But when I'm looking out my window here, there's no hope in heck that we're going to see this occultation of Antares, which is taking place about now and is going to get uncovered here in a couple hours. But anyhow, it was pretty bad conditions. So I was trying to still drum up some interest. So I was going around chatting to people. I'm like, well, I kind of worked a bit of a comedy routine and just some pretty funny astronomy related bad jokes kind of stuff. And then a lot of people showed up, and then it did kind of sort of clear. So I was able to do 45 minutes of a binocular tour. So I was kind of surprised.
Oh, wow. Well, I guess perseverance paid off.
Yeah. Yeah. So it wasn't too bad. It got super cold though. It was 9 degrees, which doesn't sound super cold, but I was freezing. It was, people were getting cold, and I don't know. It was just super chilly. But that day, Saturday so we got there on Friday. It was 30 degrees, positive 30 degrees Celsius. Our daytime high on Saturday, 14 degrees Celsius.
Yeah. Well, fall is around the corner, and you can kind of tell, the heat doesn't stick around as much in the evenings, and the mornings are a little crisper than, what it was just a few weeks ago even. So
yeah. There's
lots
of summer left. A few years ago, I remember 2021, we were still having 30-degree weather on the last day of October. So I'm hoping for those years. I like the warmth. That was a little chilly though.
Yeah, hopefully we get kind of extended summer. That would be great.
Yeah. I'll take some clear skies though. I can handle a little bit of chilliness. I'll take some clear skies. We have not had any real decent clear skies in quite some time. Last night didn't look too bad, but there's a lot of smoke. One of those fires is all the fires are far, but and thanks. I've had a lot of people asking me. I don't know if just listeners have been writing me individually and saying how are the fires there, and we're nowhere near the fires by more than 1,000 kilometers, I think. But for some reason, it seems like the smoke is kind of blowing in and then kind of hanging over us or something. I don't know.
Well, the predominant winds here are northwesterlies, and it just happens that the fires are northwest
West.
of us. So, a lot of it is just blowing right down because of the common winds around here, and that's just the way it is.
Yeah, I couldn't even believe when we went down to Grasslands there a month ago, and we had some really clear skies down there, and I was kind of surprised because it's not that far. And I was looking around today, and this cloud, well, this isn't really cloud over us. There's some cloud around, but for the most part, this is smoke. and it's very localized. Like it only goes out maybe 100 to 150 or 160 kilometers right around Regina. It's just like there's like the smoke seems to congregate here. It's really frustrating and annoying. If you can drive out from underneath it, but there's been times where some people who are much closer to the fires, like up in Edmonton, they were getting better conditions than what we've had. And that they're, within hundreds, a couple hundred kilometers or a few hundred kilometers of some of those fires. So it kind of is strange that the smoke kind of wafts down here and then kind of seems to just spin around.
Interesting.
Yeah, pretty annoying. Okay, so one of the things that I bought, they had vendors, or they had one vendor this year at the Triple SP, and that was the guys from All Star Telescopes. And I looked, there was lots of stuff there I wanted to buy. They had lots of great stuff. Actually, pretty surprising. So All Star was owned by, I think it was a guy named Ken, wasn't it? I can't remember his last name.
Yep. Yeah, you're
and
right.
Yeah, and he did a great job. And then these guys bought it. They've taken it up to Edmonton from Airdrie, Alberta. But I think they've switched the product some. And I got to say, excellent choices. They're carrying some of the really great little Kawa handheld binoculars.
Oh, okay.
That's like if I was going to buy a pair of binoculars that are handheld for like maybe a little bit more than what like a mass-produced binocular is, I would get a pair of those. And they had lots of battered click locks for sale.
Oh, wow. Nice.
All kinds. I almost bought one. Mike bought one instead.
Oh, which telescope is he using that on?
Well, just like any telescope, they're the 2-inch to 1.25 adapters.
Yeah, those are handy.
Yeah, I don't have any of those ones. I have ones by Antares that I got super cheap, but these ones are not cheap. They were like 117 Canadian dollars. So that seemed a lot for a 1.25 inch from a guy who just seems to keep having to buy different things for an observatory that is never ending.
Yeah, you have other demands on your bank account right now.
I did buy one thing though. This is one thing I had to buy because it was just the right opportunity. And this is something I decided I was going to buy some time ago. It's a book called The Backyard Astronomer's Guide, 4th edition. I have 2 other copies of it. I have the 2nd edition, I think, either 1st or 2nd edition, the one with the white cover. And then I have the one with Andromeda on the cover. Mm-hmm. And then there was another one with, I think, the Horsehead on the cover that I still want to get because it has some neat charts in there anyway, has some nice charts in there. But then this one, because Terence Dickinson, of course, is sort of was the primary author for this for all the years it was on, and who also wrote Night Watch. And this one's by Terence Dickinson and Alan Dyer. And of course, Alan Dyer was there, and I know Alan a little bit. And so I thought, I'm going to buy a copy. So I bought a copy, and I thought, this is great. I'll go find Alan Dyer. And I turned around, and here comes Alan Dyer walking in the tent with one of the other owners of All Star, and said, oh yeah, I'm bringing Alan in to sign a few copies. And I said, well, guess what? You can sign mine first, Alan. So he actually tested out his pen on my back page. I said, just write, just like put some marks on a back page somewhere. I don't care. This is my copy. We can do what we want with it. So he's like, oh, that's good. And then he kind of scribbled my name and their skies and such, and yeah, handed it back off to me. So pretty cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. That I love the Backyard Astronomer's Guide. We've talked a little bit about that on previous episodes, that it is really kind of your almost your amateur astronomy Bible. Like it has just about everything you could really want to know. And I think it's an awesome reference too for somebody new to the hobby, because there's a lot of good guides and tips that'll step you through pretty much all facets of the hobby, whether it's gear or finding an observing site, or just like logging your observations. It just goes on and on.
Yeah, it's a great text. It's a little bit more gear centric than the Night Watch, which is more about the observing of the night sky. I really think it's worthwhile to own both of those books. And I guess Ken Hewitt-White has been involved in editing the new edition of Night Watch, so that's exciting too. So have to try to get a copy of that. And I don't know. I don't think Ken Hewitt-White travels much, so I'd have to go to BC to get him to sign that. But that'd be cool. He'd be a great guy to have on the show. So would Alan. Alan did a talk, at the Star Party. I, of course, attended, as did every single other person who was there. Went to Alan's talk, and he was talking about basically photographing the upcoming solar eclipses on the one upcoming in October, and then the one on the total eclipse in April 8th. The one in October is an annular, and the one on April 8th is total solar eclipses, both cutting through the United States, and the April one cuts through Eastern Canada. But I said to Alan, "Oh, I'm looking forward to your talk." He said, "Oh, well, it's going to be mostly astro imaging based, but there'll be some nice photos in there. You'll enjoy it." I was like, "Yeah, I'm going to enjoy it." He's just an amazing speaker, really. I
Nice,
mean,
good.
even if somebody didn't even like astronomy, they would enjoy his presentation. And that's how good he is, really. And it really is. He really is like a professional speaker. And he's got I should have it here. We should have him on, and he can promote it. He's got a guide for photographing these eclipses, and it's $10. So if people are interested in photographing the eclipses, I'm just gonna Alan Dyer eclipse photography ebook. It's like, will it come up? No, I'm not finding it. Yes, AmazingSky.com, eclipse book. Yes, you can go to AmazingSky.com, and it's How to Photograph the Solar Eclipses, a guide to capturing the 2023 and 2024 eclipses of the sun. And it's a 300-page book available now. It's $10 and a few cents, United States currency, available in PDF. So you can just go to AmazingSky.com eclipse book, and people can find it there. And I think from what Alan said in his talk is he's got a lot of the stuff from his presentation in that book. And a lot of people were asking for it after they saw the presentation, not knowing that he was going to sort of promote this at the end of it. Well worth it, I think, if anybody's interested. Anyway,
yeah, for sure. And if you're not familiar with Alan Dyer, definitely go to his website. He has a pretty large gallery of the images that he's taken over many, many years. And Alan is just, he's got to be one of the best astrophotographers out there. Like, he just does some incredible imaging.
Yeah.
And while you and I don't really get into that part of the hobby, Alan is incredible. And I love scrolling through there and, just seeing what he's done recently too. It's just great. And he actually has some photos of grasslands too when he was down there, which is kind of neat.
Yeah, he does. I was bugging him for years to go down and do some. And then I think sort of in sort of a sideways way, I helped line him up with doing the shots that are in the visitor center there at the Prairie Wind and Sage in Val-Marie. But anyway, he goes and takes all these amazing astro photos, but and he sells them, and he sells ebooks and that. But I've gotten to know him a little bit over the years, and every once in a while, I've had cause to need an astro image for one thing or another, either to do public outreach or for something. And I've sometimes written him and said, "Hey, Alan, I know like usually you sell the photos or whatever, but would you mind if?" "Oh, no problem." And he's always just kind of freely loaned me an image, I guess, with proper credit, of course. So I always have appreciated that on those occasions. So he's pretty cool for doing that kind of stuff too. So I certainly don't mind recommending him to people. And I think he's an excellent writer as well. Like, clearly, I just bought a book of his. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. You know what though? You know what the best part of the Star Party was, Shane?
No.
You're supposed to ask me what the best part is. I should have put that in the notes. The best part was that I get to meet a few of our listeners.
Oh yeah, awesome. Who did you meet?
Fun. I saw Ian again. I had bought my AZEQ6 from Ian back in the spring. Okay. So he was there. Actually, I pulled up, like, parked next to where his tent was when I went up for the swap table. And then I also ran into Perry and Dave, and shout out to these folks. Those two individuals came up and introduced themselves to me because they heard my voice, and apparently I have a unique voice that sounds very much like the voice that everybody's hearing right now. And so, it was really cool to learn about their astronomy a little bit, and how their week was going, and that sort of thing. And then I think at least one of them came up to my binocular tour. It was hard to tell who was there because there was a whole slew of people, and it was dark, of course, so I couldn't really tell so much. And it was just a lot of fun. It was so much fun to be around people. I gotta say, since the pandemic, I have enjoyed doing the podcast with you, of course, and connecting with people electronically, but I do really love that in-person type of connection that you can make with people, and sit down. Like one of the folks sat with us for dinner one evening, and so that was really nice. It's just such a rich and enjoyable experience to meet listeners as well as to meet other people. Like Joan Hodgins, she was there from the East End, and there's a few other people like that. Judy, who's a professor emeritus of anthropology that I know, she was there with her 8-inch portable. I got a photo of her in that pretty cool scope. Chatted with a guy from, he lives out between like Edmonton and Saskatoon on the Alberta side somewhere. He's built an observatory. I've spent a lot of time on his website, so it was really cool to just I walked over and was like, hey, I think I recognize like your telescope from your observatory, and chat with him about that and the trials and tribulations of building an observatory. So yeah, that was just a lot of fun. Great to catch up with Rick Huziak, who was there as well. Yeah, it was a blast. Hopefully you can make it next year.
Yeah, we'll see. It's in our backyard, so to speak, and it's always sort of on my list of consideration. But we'll just see how the summer plays out.
Yeah. Let's see. We had a couple emails here. Had one from Leonid. He sent me an email, and I didn't reply very quickly because I think I was away when he sent it, and so I thought I would just include this because he sent this beautiful observing report. Do you mind if I read it?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, we had some other listener emails, but I'm going to read his. Leonid writes, hi there, Chris. Finally, I had some beautiful skies up at Saint Jean de Matha on I guess that was last weekend. And he observed from 9:30 to 12:30 before the clouds rolled in. It's a Bortle 4 sky that he gathered. I think maybe it was a little bit better than that, just according to my own bit. But he's from Montreal, where it's like Bortle 8 to 9. And he was finally able to see M51. And he says, I finally get to see M51 after use of trying in Montreal, to no avail. And once I saw it, I understood why. It's faint, but it clearly stood out in my 13 millimeter Nagler, in the 6.5 millimeter. And he also tried a 2.5x Barlow. There's clearly aperture which figures in. Nonetheless, it was gorgeous. Clearly, I understood why. From SA, it was a nebula without stars, but I clearly saw the two parts with a hint of a bridge between them. That's pretty good for an 80 millimeter telescope.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I looked at M11 and some other nebulae in the area, including the Veil Nebula eastern end, and I think the North American Nebula as well, but I'm not sure if the areas of darkness that I saw were the nebula or not. I regret not taking my observation stool with me, as there was some discomfort in constantly getting into awkward positions. Yeah, you and I have learned that. You always take your observing chair, right?
Yeah, that's kind of never leave home without it when I'm going observing, because if I don't have it, I probably won't observe nearly as long as I want to.
He goes on to say, what I found remarkable and what we don't see in the city is, for example, stars like Polaris, Vega are surrounded by multiple pinpoints of light, which are impossible to see in the city. Well, an anecdote from last night, Wednesday night, I guess this must have been like during the week or something that he was writing these notes. Wednesday night after work at 1 a.m., I took out my Dob for a few quick looking at the Ring Nebula, and the 6.5 millimeter gave me 185 power, and the ring was the size of the bean, where in my 81 millimeter from a dark sky sight and a 24 millimeter panoptic, for about 20 minutes, I couldn't find it. Try as I might. Finally, I found it. Gray little blue-green speck, not much larger than the star. I was looking for a translucent bean in the sky, and I was tricked by my own memory of what the object looked like through a larger scope from not long ago. I now understand a bit more why Shane must have had a few difficulties accepting his 80 millimeter William optics, although the views can be remarkable. They are remarkably different from a 200 millimeter Dob. That's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they are. I've talked a little bit about that too in the past. That I, in my early days with that 80 mil William optic, I just didn't love it because my 12-inch showed so much more. But I was trying to use the 3-inch William optic like I was using my 12-inch Dob, and that was just wrong. There's so many things that look far greater in a 3-inch refractor than they would look in my 12-inch Dob. So it was just a matter of picking the right objects.
Leonid goes on to say, now I really hope the 30 millimeter APM UFF is as good as Shane says, as I really enjoyed my 24 millimeter panoptic last night. I used to have a 32 millimeter Celestron Plossl, which I enjoyed in a 90 millimeter scope, but not as much in the Dob. I also gather that I will need a few 2-inch filters. I agree. In terms of the tripod, well, I think that I made a right decision for the platform. Regarding the space and comfort, I really enjoy the new feet that I picked up, and he sent some photos of this too, which is pretty cool. It had some spike feet on it, and then he goes on to say, as you can see in the photo, limited sky, dampness, and dew were a bit of a problem, but thank God for the Telrad and sometimes the eyepiece lenses, if left unattended. I guess they must have been gathering the dew up. Hope you enjoy my report. I loved it. Clear skies, my friend Leonid.
Yeah, awesome.
All right. And then we had one here from Peter. Did you want to read the one from Peter?
Sure. So Peter says, hi, Chris and Shane. I especially liked the episode on bino viewing. I had bought a William optics set some time ago to explore the concept, but I got frustrated over the inability to focus them natively. Shane's presentation got me encouraged to go back to this. I thought I would share the latest on my dark sky site at, I don't even know how to say that. Do you know how to say that? Chiricahua Sky Village. There we go.
It's pretty famous. Yeah. Got to get down there.
Where is it?
I think it's in New Mexico.
Oh, okay.
Or Arizona.
Okay. Somewhere southern U.S. Okay.
Pretty sure it's Arizona. I don't know why.
Peter goes on to say, I had the concrete pads poured in early May, but I had not been down there since due to our house move in June and the pretty wretched observing conditions we've been having. But last week I got down there again, and with the help of one of my new friends from CSV, installed the pier that I had from our old house. The observing pad is 14 by 14, divided by control joints into 7 by 7 areas. My original plan was to put the pier in the center of one of these areas so that I could have more than one setup going. For example, one imaging rig and then another one for visual, or allow others to set up as well. But after hearing about Chris's roll-off observatory, I decided to put the pier closer to the center of the pad. Then if I decide to build a roll-off later, I will have more room to work with.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, for sure. There's still room for 1 to 2 more setups. I never thought I would pursue any hobby with the tenacity that astronomy has instilled in me. Clear skies, Peter.
Thanks for that, Peter. I love the photo of your rig set up on the pier. That's pretty awesome. I feel like you make more progress on your projects, Peter, than I do on mine. I don't know why that is. I think he's more practiced.
Yeah. That sounds like a nice little setup there, where you can have multiple telescopes going and get some really nice observing going.
We've got 2 or 3 listeners there, right?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And it is in Arizona. I don't know why I said New Mexico. I knew it was Arizona. It's just, sort of end of the workday kind of thing. But yeah, that looks like a super, super great place. Bortle One skies. And of course, everybody is there for the astronomy. And really, really nice. All right. Well, Shane, anything to add to this episode before we conclude?
No, that's it, Chris.
Well, dear listeners, please subscribe and do us a favor and share the show with other stargazers you know. You can always reach us with your ideas, observations, or questions to actualastronomy@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we hope you enjoyed the show. If you are interested in more information, would like to contact us, or if you would like to support the podcast, check out our website, actualastronomy.com.